For some reason, everybody, their LDAPs were just trying to. So we couldn't do. I have nothing.
It looks like we're live, team. I don't know how, but now the whole world knows that we're live.
We are alive.
Your grandkids were doing okay.
Mayor.
All the kids everywhere. Are we sure? Let me just sign one more to make sure.
Just checking.
We're live.
Tom?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
It's rolling.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we are live. We'd like to welcome everyone in our audience today, and we would especially like to welcome those online that are watching. So we appreciate your time this evening. We started off tonight with a work session, mid-year financial update. Things are looking very well. We're pretty excited. Right now, we'll go into our regular city council meeting. Start with a roll call. Amy. Here?
Here.
Here. Councilmember West.
Here.
Here.
And Councilmember Christiansen is absent.
Okay, thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate you. Item number 3 is our Pledge of Allegiance. If you all rise and repeat the pledge with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Thank you, council, and thanks to all those out in the audience for their participation in that Pledge of Allegiance. Let's move on to a welcome. Again, welcome to all of you, all online and all here in the building. Appreciate you being here. Consent items, approval of tonight's agenda, and our February 4th council meeting minutes. Changes? None? No changes on the agenda. Anyone opposed to approving those? We'll approve those by general consent. Thank you very much. We'll now have time for citizen comments. Just like to open that up. Your citizen comments. I believe we have no citizen comments. Okay, let's move on to our new business. Item 7.1. We have a motion. This is a reappointment of a planning commission position. This is appointing planning commissioners are appointed by the mayor with advice and consent of the city council. Tonight's reappointment is a faithful planning commissioner. Has been serving us for about 4 years now, and I'd like to renew his term. His name is Morgan Wilkins. He's done a great job on the commission. He has served since 2021, so 4 years. It's time to reappoint, and I would like to reappoint. So council, I would appreciate your support. Yeah.
Question. So just wanted to understand the process. So when someone's term is about to end, like for a small city, I understand it's just like, hey, we know this guy, he does a good job, let's just go with him. Like, do you open the opportunity to the rest of the city, or how would someone new who was interested in serving in planning commission would find out about a position that's about to be vacant?
On the planning commission, usually if they're doing a great job, I will usually reappoint them. There have been times when we've had people that miss training and miss different things, and we just can't continue to have them on our planning commission. It's very important they go to the training, so we'll remove them. We had 4 years ago, we had a gentleman who did not want to continue. And so we opened it up. And at that time, I think I interviewed. I had a pretty good group that I interviewed. And then out of that group, I picked Morgan. I kept those. Usually I keep those applications for the next time. And I think 2 years ago, I had 2 more, didn't I? Last year, another one. Okay. So, but
we open it up every time there's an opening, whether it be somebody moves or somebody's, says I'm ready to leave.
Usually we know ahead of time, we'll put it in the newsletter or
Right.
the website, and there's an application.
Right, of course. I'm sure the whole thing is, by the books, of course, but I'm just wondering, like, if someone new was interested, I don't know anyone, I'm just saying, I'm sure there is some people, like, how would they find out? So it is, if someone's quitting or moving, but if they're doing a good job, it's like a pretty much automatic reappointment.
Yeah, it's kind of how it's been.
So there's 7 commissioners, and every February is when we reappoint, like, the terms are kind of like. next year,
Staggered.
Yeah, staggered is perfect.
Staggered.
So next year there might be 2 openings, so if anyone's interested, I'm talking. they could- I don't know how I'm talking to, but they could call me or check it out and let me know.
Like we
They're
try to
interested in it.
advertise it. We do it for sure in the newsletter, and I'm sure it's on our webpage. It would be out there, but like I say, and I asked those gentlemen that I don't select if I can just keep their application for next time. But we still do open it up for anybody else who'd like to participate.
Cool, just wondering.
We've always had a really good group. We're fully staffed right now. We have 7. So if you give me the approval on Morgan, then we'll be right at our 7 again. So we'll be good to go. Cheryl?
Do we have an alternate commissioner?
No.
I know that in other cities, they have alternate commissioners, so that if we had a meeting that they needed a quorum or something, that another person could come in. But I don't know if that's ever been an issue that we've needed something.
With 7, you
Yeah.
usually can get 4 there,
Yeah, and
you know?
if there's something like around a holiday, we'll ask ahead of time who cannot, because we don't want to make someone come here. But since 2008, I think it's only been twice we had a council meeting. Maybe not even that much. So yeah, usually we don't have a problem with that because the chair is a voting member. So he counts probably that one or she.
I fully support your decision, absolutely. And what I have known that our planning commission's been great. But I'm just thinking from the whole city's point of view, like, if there is reappointment time comes in, of course, your preference will definitely get a higher vote or higher value. But do you think it's like more fair if we should let the people know in the
Yeah.
newsletter?
I think we let them
Anyway.
know quite a bit in advance, don't we?
If something's coming.
If
up.
something
Or
coming
maybe
up,
I missed it for this one.
it's 2 or 3.
It's possible.
Well, for this one, no, reappointment, I usually don't.
Okay.
Yeah, reappointment, if I'm satisfied and think they're doing a great job, and like I say, they're attending their meetings and they're attending their training.
Right, and so that's
Uh,
good, like the land use training and things like that they go to, so it's, once they're trained, it's really nice to kind of keep them.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a project that goes on for years or something. they
Right.
can help out.
Good, perfect.
They are volunteers, and if they're willing to do that training and stay on, like I say, we'd like to keep them on and have that experience on there. But if one desires not to stay on, then yeah, we'll open it up to the city, and we give plenty of notice. Amy gives plenty of notice for us. It's worked out well over there. It's got some great people on there right now, and they all do a fantastic job. We thank them for their service, so.
But several times commissioners have moved on to council. as
Right.
well.
Right, that kind of used to be the way,
Yeah.
been that way, but
I-
a lot of
I mean,
cities are like that.
It's a good pool. I mean, they're already
Yeah,
serving the
that's
city.
right.
Why not?
That's right, exactly. So at this time, council, I would like your support to reappoint Morgan Wilkins. If I could,
I move to reappoint Morgan Wilkins onto the planning commission, as planning commissioner.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. I don't know who got the second, but Amy, take your pick. A motion and a second to reappoint Morgan Wilkins to the position of planning commissioner. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations, Morgan. You're on for another 4 years. Oh, let's move right along to item number 7.2, presentation, Sheriff's Office Quarterly Report. Have a lieutenant with us tonight, so welcome.
Good evening, everyone. So I did a couple things different on this quarterly report. This one is, of course, for the end of 2024. So I know we're into February here, a good ways, but basically, you'll see as we go, there's a couple different things that I'm trying here. So a little bit of feedback maybe from you, if you like
Good.
it or not. We'll see
Good.
how it goes.
I like it so far.
All right. So we had quite a few little noteworthy cases, put a few of them down. Obviously, there was more than just these that are significant to note, but I hand selected a few and you'll probably figure out why. But this first one was aggravated assault and rioting, which happened at Lions Park. On October 23rd, there were approximately 7 juveniles and one 18-year-old. They were involved in a pretty good altercation there. This kind of led to some things down the road, but they all ended up being caught and identified and referred for prosecution or cited. The 18-year-old was arrested, being the only adult, and he was put in the Weber County Jail for his actions. There was a knife involved, and the knife wasn't used, but he did intend on using that knife, and so there were obviously some significant things that could have come from that. As a result of the incident, there were several actions that took place, and not just this one. So just hold that thought. I put it under that one, but hold that thought for a minute. So we'll go to the next one. Vandalism. This was near the end of October, and 3 10-year-old males vandalized Romer Park. So obviously 2 different park issues. The 3 were identified and cited for criminal mischief for over $500 in damage to the restrooms. This was a result of cameras that were there. That plays into what happened with the previous incident, which led to us cooperating and working together to get some cameras put in. The SRO was heavily involved from the school, which pulls him away from the school at the Lions Park incident. And there had been multiple incidents there, which led to us problem solving and trying to come up with a plan. So with his efforts and city manager, Mr. Hanson, his efforts as well, and other staff, we were able to get a grant for cameras, which were put in there. And since then, there have been no more activities of that nature that I'm aware of that have happened there. It's cut down significantly on the incidents there.
Can I interject that that
Absolutely.
grant was from the Bonneville Communities That Care
Oh, yes.
group? So
Thank you for
They-
pointing that out.
they, said, hey, we've got a problem here at Bonneville High School and let's take care of it. So, we said, we'll pitch in and we did get some money to get that going and push that. We were gonna do it anyway, but it pushed us over the top and got us some better equipment there.
Yeah.
So Bonneville
Yeah, that's great.
CTC, thank you
Yes.
for that.
Thank you for pointing that out. The next one was a suicide attempt that was thwarted, thankfully, by deputies. An individual that attempted to hang himself was actively in that, trying to do that when the deputies contacted him. That was on November 5th. He was taken for medical treatment and got some help there. The next one's a aggravated assault, possession of firearm and a dangerous weapon by restricted person on November 11th. This was over on 4850 South. A male pointed a gun, which was later determined to be an airsoft gun, but it did look realistic. As you know, some of these guns really do look real. And it was used in a threatening manner towards another citizen. As a result, he was charged with possession of firearms and by a restricted person, and also for threats. And we did a search warrant, and he ended up having a sword and knives and some other stuff. So he was charged for that. The next one's aggravated kidnapping, which happened over on 4900 South. This was a domestic incident on December 26th, and a female was kidnapped by her boyfriend and held captive. A witness saw the boyfriend and forced her into a vehicle before she jumped out as it went while it was moving. So through some efforts, it took a little bit of time, but the boyfriend was eventually kidnapped, eventually captured. And he was booked on charges for aggravated kidnapping, as well as aggravated assault. And then the last one, there's a traffic accident DUI, hit and run. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about Ogden Regional, but this incident started at Ogden Regional. The individual left, and while leaving in the parking lot, kind of played bumper pool with a couple cars. Ended up going down Harrison. Attempts were made by multiple agencies while he was en route down Harrison. Ultimately, he ended up hitting a vehicle which was knocked into another vehicle which landed on a pedestrian and killed the pedestrian. So that was a multi-agency incident on that one, obviously. So those were some of the more significant cases that we handled. Over on the next page, pulled the stats, and I just kind of want to take a minute to go through some of the stats a little differently than what we have. This first page here with the stats is what you're used to seeing. October, November, and December, as you can see, each month dropped down a fair portion in calls for service. The total calls for service for the quarter were 1239, which was down from 1503 from the year prior for the same quarter. It's a 17.6% decrease. Looking down on the 5-year comparison chart, that just kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at. The 5-year outlook shows from that 2024 was 22.6% below the average of the previous 4 years. So 17.6% down from the year prior, but 22.6% down from the average of the previous 4 years to that. Okay. So that kind of struck my interest a little bit. So I dug into it a little bit. On the next page there, you can see now one thing that's significant. Stats don't mean anything unless you understand them, right? So it's important to note that on the previous page, the stats that are pulled, that's total calls for service. So that 1239 number for the quarter is all the calls. When you come over to this next page, these are certain categories that we've pulled out for the stats, the next 2 pages. I pulled up the 2024 and 2023 comparison because it has the traffic stops in there, as well as some other stuff on the next page that you'll see. From 2024 to 2023, there were 28 less traffic stops for that same quarter. So out of those calls, that 17.6% drop, that only 28 of those were from traffic stops, less traffic stops. So there were other calls that were dropped significantly as well. That's what I was trying to show is that, because I know the interest is in, well, how does that figure in with traffic stops? Because the previous stats show the traffic stops included. So this is how I pulled that out of that. Does that make sense? So you can kind of see that it's actually other calls for service, not just traffic stops that dropped. So it'll make.
So traffic, that's what I was gonna ask you on your proactive actions like traffic stops. Those are included.
In the total calls
in
for
the
service,
1,239.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Okay, that just was recently changed a couple years ago.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and we're more than happy to have that increase if you're watching the traffic stops. That's great. I'm all for that, but they went down, so that's good.
Yeah, and like I said, it's 28 less traffic stops. So you figure the total calls for service was down from 1503 to 1239.
Yeah.
So that's 260,
Right, so
70. So only 28 of those were from traffic stops.
10% for traffic
that,
stops.
yeah.
So
So that's why I pulled that out, just so that you could kind of see, so you have a truer feel of what actually dropped. Was it actual calls for service or what? And then over on the next page, you can see on the last page here, I pulled the 2024 and 2023. Now, these are specific natures that we pull out that are, because we have a huge list of different categories for types of calls. As you know, you get those weekly reports or monthly reports. And so you're familiar with all the different categories that we have. These are just specific nature. So we have the 911 calls, crimes against people, drug violations, property crimes, traffic accidents, and traffic stops. So when we look at just those, obviously this is a extraction from all the total calls. It doesn't include all of them. So in there, you can see, this was kind of interesting, I thought, from 2024 to 2023. Some of these categories in these natures were actually higher in 2024 than they were in 2023, even though we had less calls for service. So as an example, 36 calls for crimes against people for that quarter in 2024, but the same category for 2023 was only 15. So this allows you to kind of look at that, and I can go down each of one of those, or you can take your time and look it through those. I just wanted to make sure that you see the data and what it's actually reflecting, so it makes more sense to you. Is there any other questions on any of that, or do you want me to go into more detail on each of those, or?
I think they're good, but I do have a question on the 911.
Mhm.
You have a different, icon there, but is that the same 911, 23 to 24?
It is. I can tell you what probably happened there. We had a change in the software that we used to extract
okay,
these, and so that icon probably just got changed. Yeah.
So it's hard to believe you only had, 5 911 calls in three months.
That is kind of odd.
Or the previous year you had 26.
So again, these are stats, so there is a potential for there to be another category that's not captured in this.
Okay,
That
so,
could be a 911, or maybe for some reason the nature got changed.
okay,
So it could have started out as a 911 call, but because it evolved into something different, it got tagged as a crime against person
okay.
instead of a 911.
And
So-
maybe hopefully somebody's looking at it closer, that when it's a 911 for the nursing home, that the fire people are going and not the sheriff, and we're not getting charged for a 911 call.
Yeah, typically on calls like that, if dispatch doesn't catch it, a lot of times our deputies will.
Okay,
The sergeant on duty will
okay,
typically go, just have fire advise if they need us there.
okay.
And so we typically won't even respond on
Okay.
a lot of those.
Yep.
Unless needed. Okay. One thing I do need to point out that I don't know what happened on 23. For some reason, when the data was pulled that I used here if you look at the bottom on the last page, at the top, the headers, you'll notice November, December, and January. So January got pulled in there somehow. If the stats are pulled before or after January 31st, it pulls January into it instead of the previous 3, unless the person that pulls it goes back in there and you have to manipulate some things, and it's kind of tricky. But so in comparison, in full transparency, we have for these not for the total calls for service, those are actually the correct quarter.
Okay,
The nature calls, these here in the beige, those are all comparing October to December of 24, but November, December, and January for 2023. So it actually includes January of 2024 in that quarter. So it's not a complete perfect comparison.
Okay.
So I had no control over that 2023 one, so I apologize for that. I didn't even notice it until I got digging into it a little ways and then saw that. So
okay.
I think that was everything that I had on it. I think I covered everything.
Okay, I have a question, Lieutenant, and this
Mhm.
came up because I another mayor asked me, she says, man, your calls for service are kind of high compared to our city. And I got thinking about it and I said, well, how many schools do you have in your city? She said, well, like 1 or 2. And I said, well, we have, 2 elementaries, a junior high and a high school. So my question is if we have a school resource officer and then resource officer at that school, and then he maybe needs some help, and he calls one other in for, whatever, a disturbance, would we get that as a calls for service for the school? Because I do see that a lot, that you have, I don't know what they call it, but it's, assistance, whatever.
An assist. Mhm.
An assist, so with
Yeah.
that,
Or, yeah, I guess that would. I can't answer that
Just-
100%
curious.
for
I
sure.
mean, I
Yeah,
know
I'll have to look into that. That's definitely an interesting question. So,
I know we have more traffic stops near the high school than if you don't have a high school, you're gonna have probably more traffic stops.
and
But-
those would obviously go to
Those would
you, yeah,
you
to
know,
the
but-
city.
I'm just wondering if, because, we got 4 schools
Hmm.
in our small little city, and a junior high and a high school get some calls,
Hmm.
occasionally, so. Just
Yeah.
wondering.
And it kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier, that some of that hopefully is offset with some of the revenue that comes from some of those entities, whether it be Ogden Regional or a school or
Mhm.
whatever it is that's pulling in more of that, there's certain revenues that hopefully the city is, helps with some of that, because those are obvious resources that the city has. Is it-
Right, right.
But-
But I don't know what your question was, but I've always had the question on prisoner watch at the hospital.
Yeah, that's what we were
Is that,
talking about.
I've been up the emergency room way too many times the last couple of years and yeah, you'll just see a guy standing there for 5 or 6 hours.
Mhm.
You're like, am I paying for that? And
Why don't you elaborate on what you were telling me about that concept? Because after we'd gone out to the meeting where we talked about the general funds and everything there, and I asked a little bit about that.
So a prisoner watch, if it depends on, I guess, how it originated, how that would be coded. So most of those, to my knowledge, would be transports, they're sitting on a prisoner at the hospital
Mhm.
that comes from our jail, as one example.
oh, okay.
So that would originate from the jail's address. So that wouldn't be billed here. Now, if it were something different, like there was let's just say it was a gang-related incident that happened.
Right,
Somebody got injured and they ended up at
They
the
ended up
hospital,
there.
that one would fall
Okay.
on that, but it would be a call for service. It wouldn't be
yeah.
billed by the hour.
Right, okay.
But isn't that what shows up on those reports that we get every day, is that it is a call for service to Ogden Regional? So when it does say prisoner watch, that would be the case, that it was something
Mhm.
that
Yeah, somebody,
originated at Ogden Regional, so it
Yes.
would be credited, as, for lack of better words,
credit
to our,
to us,
to our city.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I was talking to him about, is that because we have that facility in our city, we are bringing in people from all around who are going to be serviced here. And if we require like on one of our reports there were 2 walkaways that were there, and so they're credited to our city. And yet those citizens may have been a South Ogden citizen or who knows where that citizen was from, but because it is within our city, we receive that credit. So as we talk about, as your friend or another mayor says, well, you seem to get a lot
Yeah,
of
that's
calls.
right. We throw in the
You say,
hospital.
well,
'cause-
we have facilities that have, just like at the high school, students that come from Bonneville,
Mhm, mhm.
Bonneville High School or here are from South Ogden or from Riverdale, from
Right.
different locations. So we're servicing people from outside of our city, within the city, that are generating needs calls. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where general fund comes in.
Exactly.
And
Something to
that's,
pay
yeah,
for, right?
that's the other
something that
part.
Tom will
We're-
be discussing.
It's hard to isolate. You'd have to be on an island all by
Oh,
yourself.
yeah, yeah.
And you just can't physically do that. So
And
there are certain services that are going to extend out beyond your community.
right.
That hopefully we scratch your back this time, hopefully you scratch ours for something else, and it kind of.
And I'll trade those credits, taking credits, a couple credits a week for having the convenience of having a world-class hospital within
Well, and
1.5 mile of anybody in the city.
I
So-
saw several calls to the toll booth for that area
Yeah,
there, and
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
everyone
yeah, there you go.
coming
True.
through there. So we have a lot of those type
Yeah,
of situations within our city that are being accessed by a larger community than just our city.
that's true. But, and I guess, that, yeah, you just live with that, and that's what you do. Let's talk Riverdale, I guess, Riverdale Police. I mean, I wonder how many traffic accidents they have to, get called on that are not Riverdale residents, probably.
85% of the wrecks are
85%.
probably non-residents.
So there you go. So they get,
We're called to the stores for shoplifting.
yeah, those stores pay sales tax.
There you go.
They're worth it. That's worth it to them. So, yeah. So I don't know. I'm just wondering what the calls were, but
Thank you.
yeah, we're excited to have the schools in our community where most of our kids can walk to elementary school, junior high school, and high school if they have to, so it's nice.
For
I
sure.
did. My kids did,
Was it uphill both ways?
It was uphill, well, only when I was a kid, uphill both ways and snowing.
Only when it was
Yeah,
snowing.
when my kids went, it was all, downhill and we had a maid. Okay, any other questions for Lieutenant?
My question was with the crimes against people, would you say there's a majority that come from the schools, as we talked about, like Lions Park and everything like that? Would you think
A what?
the crimes against people?
Oh,
I couldn't say that a majority, a lot of those are gonna be domestics as well. So, and there's fights, that happen at the parks quite a bit. As, two of those were, one of those was. But even the kidnapping, that's a crime against person. And that happened in the middle of the street. It was probably not a resident. So, it's that kind of thing that, just people passing through. And so I couldn't say how many of those are from the school, but I would venture to say that the crimes against people is actually a small portion of that would be from the schools, I would think, honestly. I don't see a lot of those coming through. There's some for sure. And there would be a portion of that. Absolutely.
okay. Lieutenant, thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Guys, you're doing a great job. I appreciate you and, pass it along.
All right.
I love
Thank
those
you.
traffic stops though. Those are great. Slow them down. Slow them down. Thank you. Item number 8, council communication with staff. We'll start on this end. Mike? Yours?
Yeah, I've got a few. So I've had some citizens that have asked, are we gonna get the porta potties back, or were they ruined because of the juveniles last year? And if so, do we have a roundabout date if we are getting them back, when they'll be back? That would be up to. That would be up to all of you. If
Sounds
you
like we
feel
would-
that that's a priority and that's what you would like to do, we can certainly budget for that.
Tom, will you bring us back some numbers? Some, financial responsibility for that? And we'll bring that to a vote. I don't see the other way.
No, overall looks like it was pretty popular. People liked it and still wants it. And we have 2 parks where we have literally no restroom. We just need camera and it pays itself.
Another camera. So, I mean, put that in there to the financial commitment if we have to put a camera there,
Yeah,
if we want to do it.
it is
It's pricey.
amazing how the cameras actually help us quite a bit. It's unfortunate,
Yeah,
but they have been very, very successful.
Hey, it pays for itself, as I said.
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't lose any money on that, right? On the
No,
bonfire.
that was,
We got paid back.
We did get paid back.
Okay, so we didn't,
Restitution is made.
yeah,
I'll come back to you with the numbers on
Okay.
that.
okay, appreciate that.
And then the other one was I had a citizen ask me if there was any way we can get information on when that cell phone tower went up at Washington Terrace on the tree park area.
The tree,
Yeah,
No,
the
no.
tree. And that's one I know that I just have to get back from that later.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that right here.
that's kind of an attractive cell tower, I think. I mean, I don't live right next door to it, but I mean, it might look like a tree. It's awesome, and that's kind of what and I mean, it was during my deal, but what can you do? You can't really tell them no. You know, and they said, let's do this. That was cool.
We actually, just kind of an interesting little point is by ordinance, we actually require a cell company to, make sure that a cell tower will not work. Well, we want them to use the parks or public property as a priority for cell tower locations, so that the revenues from the lease, the rent of that property, which there's always a lease involved, that would go back to the general good of the community, because it helps the entire community, and those revenues from that lease go directly to helping city operations and that. So that's why that tower is in the park. Is yes, it was in a general area that needed to go, and by ordinance, we require them to exhaust all efforts to have them on city property. So I can circle back around on when that was installed. I don't read right off the top of my head,
I understand.
but I'm aware of the question.
That's all I have.
Okay,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, just, really just kind of a question. The A&M building, are there any RDA funds, the central, there are still an RDA there? We
There-
talked about dissolving that.
There is, that RDA has expired. However, there are some funds still available if someone was to do a project down there, particularly one that improved the taxable value of a property and that overall look and feel for that area. Yes, there are some, it's a very limited amount. I think it might be, I'd prefer not to guess.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Just want to know if there was,
Also, the Terrace Playhouse is looking at doing the Academy, which is about a $1.2 million project that actually talked with Kim over the weekend. Actually, it was on yesterday. He and I ended up at the same parking lot at the same time and encouraged him to get things put together on that project, because that would be a taxable value, new building that go in and help that area. And so, yes, there is a little bit,
all right, I just,
but yeah,
I have a business owner that has recently moved into the city. He was in Riverdale and there was a problem with the lease and they wanted to triple his lease. And apparently they could do that. He says, well, we can't afford to stay there. So he's moved up here, but he's in a spot that's a little bit too small. So I'll talk to him and see if.
Okay.
He's talking about moving out. And I said, we'd love to have you here. Do something.
yeah, let's talk.
I'll keep it on general terms. Okay,
Yeah, that'd be great.
that's all I have.
Okay. Cheryl,
Thank you. I had a citizen reach out to me about the AMI and water system. And I really appreciated our update that you sent out, Tom, about what is happening that way. So the question that came up is, if a citizen is interested in being one of those, or we were doing the test runs on a few, how would they go about becoming part of that test group?
Just if someone comes to you and makes that request, include that as part of the, part of your list. If you all have some people you could recommend for that, that would be great. It will go through, staff and council on the initial one. We've got, at least one staff member, Heidi, who is over utilities, who has that. And they have been able to, in that beta system, found some problems on, because they're actually writing, as pointed out in that report, they're actually writing program for us. And we're the first city to piggyback onto their system. So it is quite a challenge for them to get that ready to go. I apologize for the delay. I know that all of you are anxious and the residents are anxious to get that online, but yeah, as soon as we can, we're gonna get it to staff and you, just as soon as we feel like we have a process to be able to not only just get it in your hands, but also to train on how to make it work, and use that training as a reflection of, will the training work when it goes more public? So when it goes to that public test group, and then get some feedback on that and what kind of questions we would have going forward, so that we can have that test group feed us information on, this is where I, maybe a series of, use our survey platform to get feedback from our test public test group as well. So yeah, keep a list of people that you find would be interested in it. I know we have people that show up to council meeting, they're included on that list audit already, because they've already, showed interest in that as well.
Follow up with that.
Follow up on that. I'd be willing to be part of the alpha test with Heidi
Yes.
instead of the next round, if that makes sense, just.
Yeah, we're for instance, we're trying to get it right now, just so that we don't break it every time Heidi gets on. So,
Okay.
so right now, we're still stuck in the mud. But yeah,
We're on one connection.
Yeah.
we got one and it's struggling. Do we have confidence that it will work out? Yes.
Working through bugs.
Do we,
Yeah.
is it pretty buggy right now? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so,
Then I had a second citizen, which was kind of an interesting, it had to do with water, only this is secondary water. And said that they were under, I believe she said that receives Pine View for their secondary. Do we have part of our city that receives Weaver Basin and part of it is Pine View?
mhm.
And that they were also going to be putting a monitoring system on their lines as well. Are you familiar with that? And do we have timeframes on that for secondary water?
I haven't heard from them on any time frames.
She was telling me it was like not even until 2030 or something, but for Pine View, but I was just not sure what the status is, if we know that area for our citizens as well about secondary water monitoring.
Yeah, I don't know for Pine View. I know that Weaver Basin has additional meters and additional areas that they actually need to add meters. Additional services where they need to add meters that currently isn't on their system either. I know that there is legislation that's requiring secondary water companies to get meters on. I don't know the time frame on that. That has not been, but that would be something we could certainly look into.
I know that I am on Weaver Basin's
Yeah.
secondaries.
Just a little bit on secondary water. If you go right down the middle of 5200 South, it's right here, right behind the junior high school, right down the middle. To the south is Weaver Basin, to the north is Pine View. I know that 'cause my parents are on the south and we have Weaver Basin, and right across the street is Pine View. So basically there's a line there, splits it. And last year they started, in the spring, Pine View started putting in meters. They've been doing that for the whole season. Yeah. Cause they made quite a mess in the street. Dump all their road base in there and they dig these, oh my gosh. But they clean it up really, really well and they, you know, they're moving right along. Weaver Basin, I've had a meter in my house for 10 years. But well, they got another 40,000 to put in, I don't know, another 20,000 to put in, so until they get them all put in, they really can't charge per gallon until everybody's on.
Yeah,
That wouldn't be fair.
right.
So it'll be a while, but I think, is it, I think 2030 is like the drop dead date, you gotta have it all.
Thank you.
done, so.
Hey, silver lining, you'll get to use 2 water apps.
Yes.
There you go. Z,
All right, I think I brought up this issue a while ago when we first talked about the Terrace Days, about local business owners, if they want to have a booth, maybe we can give them like a special discount. Recently spoke to a local business owner and asked me that again. He actually was the person who originally gave me the idea. So I told him I'll bring it up. So obviously that's something we have to decide. So before we are finalizing about Terrace Days, maybe something we can bring up that issue to the council. And as a group, we can decide a particular percentage that would be. Well, I think it would be nice for the local business owners if they want to get a booth in the state.
Okay, we can bring that back for your consideration.
Carlos on that. No, it's not very expensive in the first place. I'm not sure. Food trucks might be a little more expensive, but I don't know. Yeah. Talk to Carlos. You might
Okay.
have an idea on that. All right. Okay,
That's it.
anything else? I've got one thing. You received an email or a text, or I think an email this week from Amy on a tour of Central Weaver Sewer Improvement District out there. So a sewer plant in short. And this request was made by Cherie because we went through that rather quickly, but the sewer portion of our budget is out. It's, you know, that's a lot. I mean, we pay a lot for sewer. And Cherie loves going out there and seeing why we pay a lot and how it goes through. And I think Cherie just wants to go out again because she loves it. Now, Jill's family requested a tour, I think a couple of years, last year or something. And I arranged that and we took their family out. But Cherie would like the entire council to maybe go out. So she sent that out. You know, what days would be better for you? Evenings, mornings, whatever. So go back and look at that. I think, Carol, I think.
We kind of talked about it, right, Tom? I think
Yeah,
we decided on Friday.
We were chatting, I think you had stepped out for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll get
but
together and
The crew consensus looks like a Friday afternoon after 3. Looks like that could land quite comfortably.
Okay.
A little bit of shifting in work schedules, but looks like
what about you?
crew
Oh,
can,
that's-
yeah.
he said only
Yeah.
Mondays.
No, I said Mondays after this one, Wednesday's good. I didn't talk
Oh,
about Fridays,
okay.
but I figured Friday.
Okay, so Friday at 3, I could arrange that.
like we could leave here around, kind of looking at all y'all. Leave City Hall about 3. We can carpool out together. That would be great.
That's fine.
Friday.
Bring, you know, a couple members of your family and, you know, if you'd like, I mean, try to get me a count. I mean, we can split up into 2 groups and do a
Yeah.
little tour.
It age appropriate for going out in that kind of an environment. It's not like there's
Yeah,
a lot of
sure.
hazards, but
Yeah.
you know, I don't
Yeah,
know
young
that
kids get a little
toddlers would be-
excited and we don't want them,
That's why I said, don't do Tuesday and Thursday.
That's
oh, you gotta take the little ones. Okay,
No,
okay.
no swimming.
We'll wait until it gets a little warmer.
Okay.
But we don't want it to be real warm.
There is a balance there.
I don't know why. Somebody told me it just has a little aroma when it gets up to 90 degrees. So, what do you think? March, April?
That would be great. April's gonna be a little rough. Well, then again, maybe not.
Kind of busy.
We're gonna talk about April meeting here in just a
Okay,
minute.
because I've got the water environment convention too, so right
Right.
after you see all these.
March or April might work out just
Okay.
lovely. If it's
Let-
all really hammered with weather that day, we can pull the cord and
Yeah.
do another day, but
I just want it to be fairly warm. I mean, not, you know, go out there.
reasonable because there is some out of the building
Oh, yes, yeah,
activity on that.
yeah, you can't walk at all, but we would get and drive them out, so, okay. Let me find out.
Okay,
It's the best Friday for them. I'll give you a couple Fridays. I'll take care of that, Amy, okay? Working that out with Central Weaver. Okay, all right, administration reports, Tom.
okay. Got a question on the, let me pull up my schedule real quick here. There we go. Where we will have, the mayor and I will both be missing on the April 15th meeting. And we're curious if, the council would like to meet, on April 22nd to, have a replacement meeting for that April 15th that we're not going to be holding. We need, we're gonna need permission. It's not gonna be tonight because it's not on the agenda. But we'll change the meeting schedule to cancel the meeting on the 15th and add the meeting for the 22nd.
I will be out of town that week,
Got it.
so I would rather move it to the 8th rather than the 22nd.
I'll be out of town from 1 to 9, so I'll be missing the first one anyway.
Yeah,
So-
that is spring break that first week,
Yeah,
and I will probably be gone as well. The first
Ooh.
week,
Oh,
Let's see if we have a quorum on the 1st of
so
April.
maybe we just have one meeting on the 8th.
that would be yeah, we'll have a budget rollout on the first meeting that we'll be having in April.
I will be down at Water Environment Convention on the 22nd. So I
Okay,
can't do the 22nd.
so it looks like,
I mean, we could. I got a
just keep it.
Mayor Pro Tem here that's
Yeah,
fully capable.
yeah, we could certainly,
But, so we
Do
could do it
that.
on the 22nd. And we have before. I
Mhm.
think I had missed it for this before. So. Can we do the 8th and the 22nd?
are we gonna have a problem with a quorum for April 1st? For
April
what
1st.
we're
I won't
picking
be
up, I'm
here.
picking up
You won't be here.
a miss for Z,
may not.
miss
We're
for,
going out of town that week.
Okay, okay. I'll be here on April 1st. You'll be here.
Yes, planning.
Okay,
I'm planning on being here.
okay.
okay, so it was standing a logo, it sounded a little more grim than that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's check with Jill.
we'll stay on track for the first.
Okay, let's see on track
Um,
for the 1st.
Mhm. Major budget issues, budget review for that meeting. So, happy to meet with Steve, happy to meet with you. You know, one-on-one, no problem. Everyone, if you're missing a meeting on these budget meetings, let's get together. We'll go through some stuff.
Sounds good.
No
I'll
problem.
find a time.
Happy to help.
I specifically made sure that this time that I would be gone would be non-conflicting with city council meetings, so.
Yep.
On the 22nd. Rather you not move it when I make my schedule. These schedules.
Okay. So you're gone
Whatever
on the
works.
22nd. And I'm gone on the 22nd.
And you're gone on the 22nd? Okay,
Not on the
the
22nd.
the 15th,
Now, I will be here on the 15th.
you will be,
Yes,
okay.
I'm not going down until Wednesday morning,
I will not be,
right? You will not
however,
be.
that would not prevent you from having council meeting. We
Okay.
can definitely have the 15th. Let me talk with,
Will everybody be here on the 15th?
Yeah, I think so.
15th, okay.
then let's.
So we
let's
can do the
keep-
15th.
Let's move forward with the 15th. Let me talk with Cherie.
Okay.
And on handling the meeting for that meeting with the budget discussions and things, and
Okay. Let's
we'll push along
keep
for
it as is. Let's
a
try it.
will do for the 15th.
Does it have to be on a Tuesday?
The consistency is good
Yeah,
for
consistency.
public noticing and for the community to have that regular occurrence.
We know it's.
So it's
Yeah.
preferred unless you have a special, circumstance or special meeting that you need to do. It is advised to be consistent with the day that you do those.
And then we may have a sheriff's meeting fifth Tuesday,
You do have a sheriff's
The
meeting on the
29th.
29th.
and I'll be back.
So they have sent out a notice on that. If you did, I was gonna bring that up as well. If you have not received the notice, we will have that quarterly meeting with the sheriff's office on the 29th.
Okay, April's taken care of.
Okay,
Anything else, Tom?
just kind of as a fun little side note, Martin has received 3 applications for chickens.
Oh,
So moving right
Are they
along.
new applicant or existing?
he has an approach.
Some new, some existing. I think
That's-
one existing,
That's good.
2 new.
That's good.
And they're running up on their 30 days
Yes,
in just a few days.
he'll be approaching.
And Martin's gonna be going out and doing a checkup, see how people are doing
Told
on.
me he knows about 4 or 5 that have chickens already.
Yeah, he'll be reaching out to them specifically
Okay,
to-
good.
to help them along. So
Good. Good going.
short of that, the guys have been out doing well with the plowing and getting things taken care of that way. They had a late night the other night. Fortunately, it was just plowing, so that's good.
Yeah.
Plowing and salting, but things are moving along that way. Unless you have any other questions for me, that is a wrap for me.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Upcoming events, planning commission meeting, 6 P M, 27th. Tentative, maybe not then, okay. We'll leave that, we'll look for the agenda coming out or not. March 4th, council meeting, work session 5 P M and city council meeting at 6, March 18th. Work session at 5 P M and council meeting at 6. Let's see, and then March 27th, a tentative planning commission meeting. See what happens. Okay, sounds good. Nothing else on tonight's agenda. I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.